Hello, everyone. Allow me to extend a warm welcome on the third day of the International Youth Conference. And I believe that you had a very inspiring and fruitful past 2 days, and hope that you had a good rest so we can continue on that pace of productivity today as well and on the next several days. My name is Maja Stojanovska, and as a former project team and conference alumni, it is a very great pleasure to be here with you today and to moderate this session. I hope that you and your loved ones are healthy and are staying safe. And let me congratulate you on the decision to be part of this conference this year, since I believe it's a very rare bright spot on this very dark kind of year. I would like as well to congratulate on the project team for the very successful and the great effort to translate and transfer the spirit of the International Youth Conference online. It's a great, very nicely done. Here I would like to give a brief introduction to the session, and regarding the technicalities, of course, firstly let me remind you that I believe you're very familiar with the format of the session. So I believe there is no need to repeat all of the technicalities, and I believe there is no need as well to repeat to be a voice and not an echo, but still I will say that because this is the time when you need to be loud, when you need to say your thoughts, your opinions, your curiosities, and perhaps start an avalanche of great recommendations which are going to be guided and taken in consideration by the decision makers in our society. So this fifth session is dedicated to a topic which is constantly tackled by the International Youth Conference, since it's an issue which is deeply rooted in our society, and it's the unemployment, more specifically the youth unemployment. But this year we're going to discuss it from another perspective. It's a perspective that actually no one foreseen coming maybe 1.5 years ago, let's say. The session is called Unemployment, What Now? And we are going to encompass two very relevant topics, which are post-COVID solutions for youth unemployment, what are the perspectives for young people, and the second topic is how can globalization be inclusive in the digital era. For guidance of expertism through the topics, we have two great speakers. As well, there was planned third speaker, but Mr. Fatmir Bitiki, who is the Deputy Prime Minister in charge of Economic Affairs, gave us last-minute notice that he will not be able to attend the conference, which actually pretty much sums up the priority of the youth issues which the politicians give nowadays in the society. So without further ado, I would like to give a short and brief introduction to the topic. Saying that the COVID-19 pandemic actually has disrupted all the aspects of our lives. What began as a health crisis very rapidly translated into severe economic crisis. And the policy responses which were taken by the countries in order to fight the pandemics resulted in economic shutdowns. The International Monetary Fund calls this virus-driven crisis the Great Lockdown. It is parallel to the Great Depression and the Great Recession, and it is believed that the Great Lockdown it's going to result with the loss of 5 to 25 millions of jobs worldwide, and the youth being the most vulnerable groups regarding employment. This means that millions of young people across the world are going to lose their jobs, they're going to lose their security benefits, and they're going to have not adequate access to health insurance in the time of pandemics. This all emphasizes, all of this, plus the mental health deterioration, which is happening nowadays, and which is a very relevant topic by itself. All of this emphasizes the multidimensional challenge that the youth is facing nowadays in this crisis, and this can all lead to reducing of the productivity potential of the entire generation, something which the world should be concerned about. So even before the onset of the crisis, actually youth employment and the social and economic integration of the youth was an ongoing challenge, but now it's an urgent to actions to be taken, and young people to be taken in consideration as they are likely to suffer very severe and long-lasting impacts from the pandemics. Now, I would like to introduce the first speaker today, Mr. Ognjen Markovic. Mr. Ognjen Markovic is project expert in the Western Balkans Youth Lab project. That is a project that is aiming to provide opportunities for young people to participate in decision making. So, Mr. Markovic, it's a great pleasure to have you here today with us. Can you tell us post-COVID solution for youth unemployment? What are the perspectives for young people, please?
Thank you, Maya. Thank you very much for the introduction. It is a pleasure of mine to be in panel with Ms. Bezukhanova, and thanks to organizers for inviting me to be part of this event. On the very beginning, I would like to say that I'm happy to see that 18th edition of International Youth Conferences, despite its online format due to pandemic, even richer in the content, and that it is focused on the very important topics regarding youth from Southeast Europe. So, as you said, my subtopic is post-COVID solutions for youth unemployment. What are the perspectives for young people? And I see it as a major topic to be discussed, as youth unemployment is one of the burning issues in the Western Balkans. So, according to International Labour Organizations, Organization and European Youth Forum recent studies, prior to the onset of the COVID-19, young people aged 15 to 24 were actually 3 times more likely to be unemployed compared to the adults. Of course, following COVID-19, the increase in youth unemployment is expected to rise even more in future months and years. And also the global pandemic is affecting education systems all over the world. What is also very important to highlight is that marginalized young people, such as persons with disabilities and young Roma, are at particular risk of COVID-19 and its impacts when it comes especially to the mental health, employability, and education. That is why, and before I present to you some of the new instruments actually that aim to increase employment opportunities for young people at EU and Western Balkan level, I would like to share with you some, with all the participants, some data from Balkan Barometer, which is an annual survey of public opinion and business entities in Western Balkan 6 economies commissioned by the RCC. And this PowerPoint will actually be very short, but I wanted to just bring to your attention some of the key statistics when it comes to youth. So on the question, would you consider living and working abroad? Youth aged 18, 20, 24 from the Western Balkans positively answered 71%, while 10 are still considering that option. What is the main reason you are not actively involved in the government decision making? Here you can see that 32% of youth aged 18-24 said that they do not care about it at all. 20% said that they do not want to be publicly exposed, and the rest said that as they think that as individuals they cannot influence government decisions, they do not trust governments, and similar. Have you ever done something that could affect any government decisions? We here have the staggering data that 50% of youth aged 18-24 do not even discuss government decisions. 23 say that they discuss it with friends, families, and acquaintances, while 27% did not answer. On the question, and here we have some very encouraging data, is on the question, do you agree that regional cooperation can contribute to political, economic, or security situation of economy? We have that the fact that 22% of young people totally agree, and 52% of them tend to agree with this, which is very important when we speak about regional cooperation among young people. And when it comes to the topic that we are discussing today, here you can see that 61% of youth aged 18-24 tend to agree that what brings Western Balkan citizens together is more important than what separates them. And this is really encouraging for us in RCC when working on regional agenda. 43% of this group consider as a good thing having people from the region coming to live and work in their economy. But on the other side, 51% worry about employment, and 59% believe that unemployment, financial insecurity contribute to radicalization and violent extremism. Still, for me, this is very interesting fact that 85% would for sure be ready to acquire additional qualifications in order to advance at work. So, as seen from the data, young men and women in Western Balkans feel detached to the whole governance process, and the most pressing issue remains unemployment. Therefore, we believe that there is a dire need for youth to be engaged in the decision-making processes and at the same time to become part of the labor market. But of course, on the end, we always have that question on how actually to address this, or how to find or provide solution, especially when it comes to future perspectives on unemployment of young people. And that is why I want to highlight some of the instruments of the EU at the EU and Western Balkan level that have aimed to boost employment opportunities for young people in recent months. As a kind of response to this overall issue that has been more heightened due to COVID-19, and we all witnessed of closing of businesses and prevention of opening new ones. So on beginning of the July, the European Commission announced the Youth Employment Support Package, a bridge to the next generation, by giving young people all possible opportunities to develop their full potential to shape the future of the EU and to thrive in the green and digital transitions. The youth employment support includes reinforcement of youth guarantee, vocational education and training, renewed opportunities for traineeships, and additional measures to support youth unemployment. So just a couple of days after that, on 3rd of July, Western Balkan Youth Lab project and Employment and Social Affairs platform, both projects funded by the EU and implemented by RCC, had the pleasure to host a webinar that gathered more than 70 participants coming from administrations that are dealing with youth, labor and economy field, youth councils, youth umbrella organizations, as well as youth organizations dealing with youth and persons with disabilities, where we had a chance actually to contribute to the demystification of the policy-making process. And the webinar was actually very rich with information on how youth unemployment in the region and youth guarantee as an innovative and effective labor market policy can be actually used to boost employment rates when it comes to young people. And of course, I would be more than happy to share some of the materials from the webinar later on if someone is interested. Following this instrument, we have a mechanism of European Commission that has been actually recently adopted, economic and investment plan for the Western Balkans that sets out investment package mobilizing up to 9 billion euros of funding for the region. And actually, that plan aims to spur the long-term economic recovery of the region and support the green and digital transition in order to foster, let's say, regional integration and to support exactly young people and to offer solutions for employability of youth. The Commission proposed a flagship on the youth guarantee. When it comes to some additional novelties at the EU level, I would like to highlight, as someone who was doing a a kind of lot of internships during the studies. Actually, European Parliament adopted resolution condemning the practice of unpaid internships, traineeships, and apprenticeships, and called for actually a kind of legal instrument to enforce that young people are paid fairly. So unpaid internships were banned at European Parliament itself back in 2018, and this, in my opinion, is another crucial milestone towards banning them across the Europe. And after these mechanisms, when it comes to Western Balkans, we are all aware that EU accession stays as the most important anchor for the development of the region. These new instruments actually provide guidance on how actually to keep working on the regional cooperation agenda. And that is why I want to highlight, because when discussing with organizers about the group, and I'm happy to see that we have more than 80 participants from the Southeast Europe, I want to highlight Berlin Process, which is an initiative aimed at stepping up regional cooperation in the Western Balkans and aiding the integration of these economies into the EU. And this process itself, with some regional instruments and projects, has actually put the spotlight on youth-friendly policies. And within Berlin Process, I want to highlight two things. So the first thing is that the Western Balkans leaders endorsed the multi-annual action plan on regional economic area in the Western Balkans, so-called MAPREA, at Trieste summit held in 2017. And MAPREA, whose development was by RCC and supported by the EU, aims actually to enable a flow of goods, services, capital, and highly skilled labor, making the region more attractive to investment and trade. And thus, of course, aiming to bring prosperity to Western Balkan citizens. Of course, even though MAPREA is not about youth unemployment, but all its actions have youth as indirect or direct beneficiaries of the actions within this program. And the second one, and the one that is personally to me the most important one, is that European Union and Western Balkan leaders agreed and committed at the Sofia summit in 2018 to improve opportunities for youth and increase participation of youth in decision making, while calling for establishment of the Youth Lab in the Western Balkans. Therefore, in 2020, Regional Cooperation Council started implementation of the Youth Lab project, which I'm a proud team member. And regarding this topic, I want to highlight that on the initial or inception phase of the project, we have organized a set of consultation process with more than 70 meetings where we included donors, stakeholders, international community, youth organizations, youth umbrella organizations, youth councils, in order to discuss what is the most burning issue and what should be the topic of the first regional thematic youth lab that will kick off in December this year. And there was a wide consensus that youth unemployment is the most burning issue, and that will be actually the topic of the first youth lab ever on the Western Balkans. Regarding the structure of the youth lab, I want to highlight that it consists of the regional events, kick-off event, mid-term review event, and final conference, while in between, from all 6 Western Balkan economies, there will be national activities that are aiming to have policymakers and young people at equal basis, co-designing and co-implementing different policies in regard to youth unemployment. When it comes to other parts of the project, beside providing opportunities for young people to participate at regional and international events, as well as strengthening capacities of the youth councils and youth umbrella organizations in the region, we have a mapping component regarding mapping of youth policies that we are actually now working on, and we are aiming to find a way on the donor community coordination mechanism, because we all are witnessing that also donor community is recognizing the urgent need to address the needs of young people and to invest in the fields that are the most important for young people.
So that is something as we as a project are striving to do, but also there are many additional examples when it comes to youth unemployment in the at the Western Balkans level. And here I would like to highlight just briefly the program that recently started in Serbia called Moja Prva Plata, my first salary, that aims to provide practical skills and chance for employment for more than 10,000 people in this first year. Then over the years, there is a vocational training and employment opportunities for recent graduates in Montenegro to have an employment contract for 9 months and to gain actually first working experience. Then we have Youth Guarantee North Macedonia, which is a first non-EU economy that implemented this program. And as I believe it started in 2018 as a pilot project in 3 municipalities, while in 2019 it expanded at the national level. And during this webinar that I mentioned that we had in the beginning of July, it was interesting to hear from the representatives of the government of North Macedonia that so far more than 20,000 young people were covered by the program, out of which 52% were women. While just a second, while in 2019 there were almost 1,500 Roma included. Also, there are more internship opportunities in Kosovo, as well as opportunities to gain practical skills on entrepreneurship and starting their own businesses. So these are, as you may notice, I tried to provide brain food and information on the new mechanisms in order to boost youth employment rate at both EU level and Western Balkans level. But as I believe I already took a bit of time to conclude, I would like to refer and actually quote, because I strongly agree with Her Excellency Ambassador of Federal Republic of Germany, Ms. Holstein, that on the opening of this conference said that young people are the future of the European Union, and I cannot agree more, but I would also add that young people are future of the whole world, and I would say that actually young people are the main resource that we have and driving force for change. Youth is also the present. I mean, we are all here, 80 of us today, discussing all these important topics. We aim to give our contribution. Very often we can see that young people are actually are themselves solution to some challenges or part of the solution, just if they have a chance to express themselves. In that sense, on the very end, I want to mention just one example called the Balkathon, which was the first ever Western Balkans hackathon competition event organized by RCC in order to trigger development of digital innovative solutions in selected categories such as smart tourism, e-payments, and digital learning. And the Balkathon was actually a successful instrument for youth, for students, for startups, small and medium enterprises from region to unlock their innovative ideas, because there are many, and develop and promote their digital solutions in order to support citizens to recover from COVID-19. And I mean, this is why the Youth Lab project, a 3-year EU-funded and RCC implemented project, is seeking to make young people more involved in policy and decision-making, to make youth an important actor in setting policy agenda of the places they live in. Because we believe that if youth provided the digital solutions for smart tourism, e-payments and similar, I'm more than sure that youth would have many constructive solutions and ideas when it comes to designing and implementing policies at national and regional level. And we in Youth Lab project will work hard on contributing that youth voices are being heard, because we strongly believe that there is a need to involve youth in each policy, because as said, youth as a present and future of the whole world needs to be not only consulted but also included in each process. So for the beginning, I believe that I have covered everything planned. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to hopefully fruitful discussion on hearing your experiences when it comes to employment, which challenges maybe you have faced, or what are some of the lessons learned from for all of us. And I would like, of course, to follow up even after this conference, and I will share in chat my contact, and feel free to write me and keep in touch. Looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Markovic, for your address. I believe it was really inspiring and enthusiastic. You know, at first you gave us the barometer data, which were a bit devastating, let's say. You know, it's pretty devastating information to know that the youth of the region are not feeling the possibility to influence the decision making in their countries and in their societies. But then you provided all those information regarding the possibilities of how youth can be involved in the decision making. I congratulate on your project, and I believe it is something that the youth should be aspired to be part of, and I believe it will bring a very fruitful result. So thank you for that. Yes, and I believe that now is the time that we continue with the second part of our session. Here I will just say that the COVID-19 crisis actually deteriorated and reshaped the world of work as well. So it's speeding the digital transformation in order to meet the needs of the online work and online shopping, essentially of the online life now we are living. So the crisis is also driving expansion to the artificial intelligence and automatization, which as a result is reducing several or many, let's say, of the professions which are now at the labor market, and is showing the focus of the need for the sets of skills and competences regarding digitalization. In that regard, the increasing demand for the digital skills and competences is not only for the technical sector, let's say, for the information technology sector, but it's for all the other sectors as the consumer services, health, and as well social care as well. So here it appears that's no more business as usual. Here I will like to welcome our second speaker, Ms. Sasha Bezukhanova. Ms. Bezukhanova is a senior executive, angel investor, and philanthropist with many years of great experience and great track record of service to her society. It's a real pleasure to have you here, Ms. Bezukhanova. She's as well founder of the Move.bg and a co-creator and initiator of Edit.bg, as well the change makers. So now I would like to ask you, how can globalization be inclusive in the digital era? Please.
Thank you for the introduction, Maya. Thank you for inviting me to speak in this very important forum. And why I find it as very important is that I'm one of the believers that the youth, the young generation, is the solution of the whole house in the world today. Maya was mentioning the COVID crisis as a trigger of big changes, of digitization, of introduction of new ways and new technologies in our life. But of course, this process started much earlier. We have, because of the global connectedness and also democratization of the access to the information, we have, in the last about 10 years, a visible process of transformation in the world that became much more obvious in the last couple of years. And it is so fundamental that every single aspect in our life is disrupted, it is changed. And if we look in what's going on in the business arena, we'll see that the corporations that was mastering the agenda in the economy are more and more replaced by platforms where young companies, startups, small companies are making money because they are co-living in these platforms. So it is a total new way for business to make money. And this loyalty towards the brand, the big guys, the industrial corporates that we professionally call them proprietary enterprises, they are more and more challenged entry place, and they need to change in accordance to be more on the market because of this young, brave new ideas that are pressuring them and are offering new solutions. We see also in this economic field more and more shared economic models where we as users, as participants, as buyers, if you want, because of the feedback system that is integrated in the solutions, we are participating in the development of the product. This is a new way, an agile way for developing and progressing of the industrial systems. That was not the case in the traditional industrial era times. So in digital era, in the era of automation, comes new models that are replacing the old systems. And this agenda is driven by young inventors, by young entrepreneurs. So I'm sure you all that are the avant-garde of the young generation on the Balkans are and should think also in the future on how to empower the community or friends to be in the forefront of this process from your countries for the world. But if we look also in some of the other processes that we are both participating and triggering in the world today, in this world of transition, we'll see that also the educational system is disrupted. Today, the knowledge is available for everybody, everywhere. So you can sit in Skopje and finalize the master degree in Stanford University just online. And many people choose to really upgrade their skills through using those all types of formal, informal, online educational mechanisms. And one thing that we should, of course, have in mind is that the educational system should be also considered as something that is totally different. It's much more about your own initiative. What are the skills that you have? And we should drive this culture within the young people. And I will speak about employment and unemployment later on, but the equipment with the right knowledge is not only about educational systems, programs of the governments, and formal models and infrastructure. It is really about the initiative of the young people, and I know that your generation is very much understanding this quite well. Well, continuing with this old new world, if we look into the political systems, we see also a big clash of the old concept that have been ruled the political process for decades, which is under big pressure grassroots. So obviously the political parties, as we know them, as they are constructed, as they are constituted, are not anymore the choice of the new generation for political expression. We see more and more communities that are self-organized around a cause that are playing on a political field by not being constructed as a political party. And this creates also disruption in the political and societal process. So I can continue with this line on what's going on in the world, but I'm giving those trends and examples to you just to support the statement that practically we are in a process of fundamental transformation that is really a big clash between the institutionalized old systems in business, in political field, in social field, and the emerging grassroots new trends, new models that are not yet packaged into policies, into legislative systems. They are not yet constituted. And here I believe your generation, the young generation, plays a fundamental role, because the drivers of this new culture, of this new code that is coming to the world, is exactly the generation of the today's 20s, 25-year-old. Because practically what is happening, in my view, is that this world where the rule was I'm winning when you are losing is already in the past more and more, while it is replaced by new concept, new paradigm that we more and more see manifested in every single dimension of life, of collaboration, co-creation, and sharing. And your generation knows the code of this new world, and that's why it's very important you not to wait someone to tell you how to live your life, and I'm sure you're not doing this, but really to take an initiative and to use your channels to introduce those new models in the economy, in the political systems, in the society. And I liked very much Ognjan's statement a couple of times in his introduction, was underlining that there should be a bigger presence of young people in the legislative process, because old people doesn't know what to do, I'm telling you. But because we are speaking about how the young people to be supported, to be empowered, to get jobs, one thing that we should really be sensitive of and have focused efforts is to equip those young people, all young people, with the skills for the future. And when we speak about what are the skills for the future, I can maybe give you my perspective on what is needed in accordance to be successful in this life, in this world where we'll live between the virtual and the real life. So obviously people need to be digitally literate because digital skills are part of the basic literacy already, but they are also integrated, as Maya said in the introduction, in every single economic product. So digital knowledge is not anymore ICT or computer science knowledge. It is part of every single business. The person of the future should carry creative mind. So art should be part of the skills. Because of the fast changing environment, creativity is fundamental in accordance people to be able to really take decisions and to find solutions and to go outside of the established concepts, and they should be incorporated in the formal informal education of the people. And also ecological green thinking should be really studied in the schools, because one of the biggest challenge before us is climate change. And of course, we are all stressed by the pandemic that has practically stopped the world and blocked the world, and created lots of fears and challenges before the governments and before us as individuals. But let's not forget that this pandemic crisis is in a way wake up for the world for potentially bigger crisis that is before us, and this is the climate crisis. And to have people equipped with the knowledge and to have policies and framework, but also businesses that are addressing this challenge before us is very, very critical skills also for the future. And we, of course, see many people that are losing jobs, and young people eventually are having challenges to be unemployed immediately after education. I understand that this is something that needs to be addressed immediately. But I really want to talk more about the employment that is before us, because this goes hands to hands with the skills that the young generation should carry. Because while we see many companies shrinking their teams and being reluctant to employ immediately people after the education, in the same time, we see many new jobs that are opened because of the digitalization and because of the new business. And I believe that your efforts and governmental efforts should be oriented in that direction. That's why I was very briefly touching upon the skills for the future that are needed. So if we look what are the big challenges before the humanity at the moment, obviously climate is one of them, which opens a total new line about circular economy, about green tech businesses, about greening the traditional industry. And if young people are trained to produce either their startups or have skills that support the sustainability agenda, they are very critical resource on the market, both for the local economy, but also for the European and world economy. So we should invest into those skills today. Second big challenge, obviously, are the health system that are also disrupting. We have aging society. We have shortage of qualified experts or specialist doctors for remote places. And the industry thinks about telemedicine, about using artificial intelligence for health system. obviously, to direct the young people to have this cross-disciplinary knowledge, both on technical level as also on the production and scientific level, is something that should be incorporated within the educational system, formal and informal, from very early age, because we don't have a privilege anymore to start studying in the age of 20. The new generation start playing with the technology already in the age of 10. So we should find a way to really translate this interest, this skill, if you want, into practical entrepreneurial, but also digital advanced skills and make it available. And you can help into bridging this process, not only talking to the government, because governments sometimes are very slow. And also not everybody in the political elite in the government is forward thinker. Because of this transition time and some inertia from the past. But nothing prevents you to take advantage of a variety of programs, and Ognian mentioned some of them, to be the initiator of these informal circles, of these communities, of these self-helping communities, and to translate and to equip a young generation, the younger than you, with this specific knowledge. So if we also are looking into what are the challenges before the world and what will be the competitive employment for the future, obviously we have this global connectedness that requires systems to operate it. And those are heavy cloud-based systems, because almost everything is in cloud these days. And also connected chain of production for the industrial products that are based on the intelligence sensors, Internet of Things. And they are incorporated in everything more or less, and more in the future that we are using. So obviously the engineering skills, the STEM or STEAM in the educational system, but again, and I'm underlying this because you can organize it with no, let's say, support of the and weight of the government, is to organize and help those knowledge to go also through the informal education. And what will be the employment of the future related to the shared economy, to the on-demand economy that is knocking on the door? And we have many examples already. I'm pretty sure some of those solutions are also produced by young, smart people in your country, in your countries. This requires digital marketing skills. This requires e-commerce qualification, and this also requires bridging different disciplinary skills. Meaning, for example, for the new entertainment industry, you need digital specialists, you need also artists. And they together as a team can produce the new e-commerce platform-based art production in a collaborative way. There are many examples that are making the money for tomorrow. And why I speak about the economy of the future, because you need to have an economic foundation in accordance democracy to function. You need to have really understanding on what are the trends in the world in accordance to prepare to be a player within this world. This can happen only if you work proactively into equipping the young people, the 15, the 20 years old, with those skills so that they can be entrepreneurs from your country, operating on the international market, and through this creating an environment for the future. And that's why, honestly, I don't like to speak about unemployment. This is not negligence of the problem and of the challenge, but rather to look on what are the alternative ways for employment of the young people and how we can secure with no delay equipping those young people so that they are prepare the skillful resource for the factories that needs to go in a digitized way, being this for marketing their products virtually, or to introduce measurement systems within the system. So obviously, if you have the engineers, if you have digital marketing specialists, if you have young people that have those knowledge, they are not on the queue for unemployment monthly fee. They will be really a resource for transformation of your economy. So look in a very practical way from that angle, I would advise, so that you can play a role and be instrumental for the future of your countries. And what we does, for example, in Bulgaria, and I'll stop here. No, I also in that context, I want to give you another piece of advice and perspective. You understand maybe better than many of your peers in your age, because you are open-eyed people, that this global connectedness is giving many, many opportunities also to collaborate on international level, on European, on global level, and also to participate in this global transformation, collaborative production, economic process. No one has the answers today. Don't expect that Germany will tell you how to change your economy, because they are also supporting the young people in Germany or across Europe in accordance to create the economy of the future. So be part of this process, equip your people, identify your young people who can become part of this community of creators, community of change makers, and promote them as the examples who can inspire the other smart guys that are curious to try something. And of course, put pressure on the government, on educational systems to introduce those programs for early testing, early playing with the technology, for entrepreneurship. Those are very, very important things. I myself, I'm on the investment committee on European level for this is the European Innovation Council. And we are looking 4 times a year into projects that are created by people in the age of 25, 30 years old that can support the European future economy. And I'm telling you, there is no difference if you are coming from the old Europe or from New Europe or from the Balkans, just in accordance to create a solution that can address the challenges of the world. So equip your people with this type of thinking, global thinking, of self-confidence that you choose to live today. You have a privilege to live wherever you feel comfortable, where you are close to your circle, but you can work from every single point in the world to the topics that are solving solutions on a worldwide basis. And I personally believe that this period of time, let's say, change of old models to the new models is a great opportunity for smaller countries to really play a bigger role in the world, because today is less important what is your geographical, let's say, political borders, how big is your country physically, if you want. If you, because you can use these digital channels, these online channels, in accordance to play and to operate and to be present on a worldwide basis. And hopefully you are not skeptical to say yes, but we are not equipped about this. I believe that nobody is equipped, and everybody in your age should be equipped with a dream, with the self-confidence, with the belief that you can play on the bigger stage. And I would strongly advise you not to wait somebody to give you the stage, but just being leaders in the communities, organize those, I repeat again, self-helping circles where peers are exchanging knowledge, and they learn from each other, and this sharing spirit, if you want, is stimulating on a grassroots natural level. This helps a lot in the entrepreneurship startup community. You can, of course, translate it also in the social sector and address in that way societal challenges. This is the spirit of the future, and you can take initiatives, and I'm pretty sure you are taking initiatives. Take advantage of the knowledge and experience that is available online. Practically, if not all, it is a lot of content that is open. You have open resources for development, but you have open methodologies on societal engagement. And prioritize the sustainability agenda, not because Europe is announcing Green Deal and Green Recovery Plan. Europe is working on the green agenda because the challenges in the field of climate, or this balance between human and nature, are so critical already that the political, the economic, the youth leadership needs to take an initiative and incorporate.
This is already so much food for thought, and I thank you very much.
Sorry, I continued a bit longer, so. Okay.
No problem, but it's so much to, let's say, digest and discuss. And I thank you very much for your insight, and thank you very much for the projection of the future. I believe that I'm talking about the whole youth when we say we're excited for the future to come. And I believe that we can all agree that the youth has the potential to actually adapt on the needs of the digital era and to meet all those interdisciplinary and cross-cutting demands and to equip itself in order to build a better future. So now I would continue with the question and answer session, and hence I would like to ask the participants to raise a hand and of course have this, let's say, opportunity to be vocal. Can you please, whoever has a direct question to the speakers, use the camera and the mic in order to directly address? I believe this session is a crucial one. Yeah, here we have Anna Bampili.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's mostly a comment, as Mr. Markovic asked for, about our experience, and also a question. So personally, what I have experienced so far as a recently hired state employee in Greece is that there is simply no space for young people. I'm one of the youngest there, and I'm 28 years old. Unless it is for a short-term contract, of course. But for state organizations, qualifications play a less important role than the years of employment or the already existing experience, especially in the public sector. Qualifications that apply, of course, mostly to older people. So consequently, older people in Greece that do not have digital skills work for the state. Thus, there is a domino effect of lack of flexibility for the whole public sector. So now with the pandemic crisis, there has been a challenge for all of us as everyone has to adapt to digitalization. But the adaptation is not always successful, of course. And my concern is that no matter what the skills are and the qualifications are, there is a lack of political will in completing these deficits. Thus, I have to agree with Ms. Bezuhanova about taking advantage of other programs and other informal channels. But then how can we be involved in at least small-scale decision process without having the chance to participate in any state service? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Markovic?
Yes, hello again. Thank you very much for sharing the experience and for your questions. And I mean, I always say that it's a pity that in each economy, someone who is 28 or 30 is the youngest one, because as I said in my speech, I really believe that young people in each field can really contribute and show their knowledge and skills within the workplace. And regarding that part, I would just say that there is a lot of work to be done, and we are all aware of it. And especially now due to COVID, and when it comes to digital skills and everything, I believe that young people are quite good equipped with all of these, and that now we as international community and stakeholders at national level should work together to find the ways how actually to utilize those skills the most. When it comes to the young people that do not have so much, let's say, practical skills, there is also a part of, as Ms. Bezuhanova said, about these non-formal education activities that could be offered for young people to improve those so that they can be more relevant on the job market. And thank you very much. I mean, again, for sharing your experience, and I really encourage all other participants also to share and to ask, or even like to say something what comes to your head when it comes to this topic. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm waiting for the next raised hand and the next question. Your insights as speakers actually triggered discussion in the Zoom chat where the participants are sharing their experiences, especially regarding the internship, the paid and unpaid internship in their country. And I believe that's a discussion worth sharing. I would like to ask the participants to loudly express their opinions as well. In the meanwhile, I would like to me personally ask a question for both of the speakers. So regarding the youth guarantee, the European Union actually incorporated new measures and it prolonged the years which encompass the European Union youth into the youth guarantee. It was up to 25. Now, as a measure for the COVID crisis, it's up to 29. And do you personally believe that this is a measure, let's say, enough, or is it necessary, the European Union, to bring many more measures in order to tackle the youth unemployment nowadays regarding the pandemics?
Okay, I can share my opinion. First of all, European Union has many different instruments and is good. Someone like RCC, for example, but not only, to really be the mediator on this plate of different ways the youth future to be supported. Obviously, the youth guarantees is just one element, and I hardly believe that young person will stay home to wait with the and to live from those guarantees. That's why I was trying to approach the topic from a little bit different angle and to really, in a way, encourage you to lead this dialogue from a perspective that this change should be also an opportunity for the young people to find new way. Of course, not everybody is equal. Not everybody is digital, techie, or a curious person. And the fact is that this digital divide is even growing at the moment because of the technology approaching us. But as I said, European Union is giving a big number of instruments, including exchange, including communities, including also different project opportunities that allows this skills improvement. I'll give you just one example. Last year, we had 40 girls from Kosovo and Montenegro for a week in Sofia, and we've organized an entrepreneurship training. And you see how those girls, they've been in the age of 17, 18. At the end of this week, they had proto companies that they've produced. And this was just 1 week of informal education. Not an expensive exercise or something, smartly organized, very practical, and so on. And some of them are continuing in this path of building their own companies. We've organized also mentorship and so on. So it's not impossible, it's not so complex. It just needs to be very, very practical and tap from the whole initiatives of European Union, the right ones, combine them, and don't rely only on them. Do what is needed in accordance to stimulate a local initiative. Not everything is about money.
Thank you very much. Mr. Markovic?
Thank you, Maya, very much for your question. And I believe that, of course, this leveraging up the age ratio within the youth guarantee is definitely one step forward when it comes to youth unemployment, because of course it depends on the national legislation, which is different in each economy. For example, in Western Balkans, somewhere is up to 25, somewhere is 29, somewhere is 30. But definitely it's a good thing, because if you had within the previous youth guarantee program young people until 24 or 25, and now you're expanding it until 29. It's kind of logical response, but I believe it was very hard for the European Commission to, first of all, provide funds and to find new ways how actually to involve those young people, because we are all aware that it's not the same if the young person has 22 or 29, how to approach it. And that is why there are those new flagships that I also mentioned within my speech about the new opportunities for young people to be employed. So definitely that was one of the responses of the EU on the general issue of youth unemployment, but also as a response to the COVID-19 that actually made the situation, unfortunately, even worse when it comes to youth unemployment. And I believe that by this I answered your question, but I would again use the opportunity to encourage participants, because me and Ms. Bezukhanova do not have an insight in your chat, and we cannot see what are your experiences, or at least I cannot, or I'm not able, I'm sorry. So I would really encourage you to also raise those, maybe you don't need to use camera, but by audio, so we can discuss jointly some of these topics. Thank you. We will not eat you.
Yeah, thank you very much. In the meanwhile, while the other participants encourage themselves to ask, I have a question from Dora Varjacic, who is not able to speak actually. She has a question regarding digital literacy, regarding the transition on digital platforms due to pandemics. We still have issue where there is still not enough digital educated people from state and private sectors, and not only young people, so people overall. The job market is having hard time adapting to digital platforms, which leads to closing different jobs and less opportunities for all. So the question is, do you believe there is a need for education about digital literacy on state level? To what extent does lack of digital literacy influence the job market and economy in the states who should be responsible for the type of education? So the state sector, youth as digital generation, NGOs, etc. Thank you.
Okay, I will comment. First of all, obviously, not only pandemic, but in general, digitization are requiring basic digital skills of civil servants and, of course, of all citizens, but especially people that are working in the state governmental services, because more and more services are going online. And pandemic just fastened this process. So obviously the situation looks like this: either you reskill yourself or somebody will replace you. And that's an opportunity for young people to really take those roles with better, being better equipped about this. And that's why digital skills are very, very critical. And one thing that sometimes we are kind of underestimating are the people that are not or are out of, no, let me stay with the topic. Ognian, you must probably also want to comment this.
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you, Dora, for your question, and it is a very important one. My personal opinion is that digital literacy is something that definitely should be a part of educational system, starting from the primary schools. And the rationale behind it is that, as you said within your question and within your comment, is that we are all witnessing how the world is changing and how everything goes digital, and how it's definitely needed for all of us to be digitally literate. And we can see, I mean, I'm 26, and still sometimes I have some issues when it comes to digital literacy and using some different platforms that I'm not aware of. Maybe because I'm political scientist, so I'm not very eager to use all of these. And that is why everyone should use it, because even though it's not my field now, it is required from me also to use all different digital instruments in order to work or to study or anything similar. And that is why, for example, RCC within the MAPRA that I mentioned within the introductory speech, we have a part that is on digital agenda, because it is also very important for the whole Western Balkans on how to utilize digitalization and how to actually use those patterns in order to increase employment, investments, and similar. As I said, we found it very encouraging that young people from the region have actually provided digital solutions for smart tourism or e-payments or education. And that is something that really we should follow in order to have more and more young people who are so digital literate that can even in the times of pandemic provide solutions to some of the issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your answers. Now I give the floor to Daria Janovic.
Yeah, hello. I would like to share my view with you. I'm a student from Poland. I study IT, and people are saying that, okay, because you're studying IT, you have some sort of freedom and you're in a very comfortable position right now because of COVID. But from what I experience, I can tell you that it's not really true, because what my university is teaching you, it's not very useful in finding the internship. And when I already found an internship, it happened that they asked me to work for free as a voluntary. And during the COVID, it's really hard time to, to study, to support your family and work for free. And I feel like students are being used like a free workers, which is not really nice from my point of view. I also have to pay a tuition fee for my university. I know many people from my year that had to drop out because they lost their job or because of COVID had brought some mental difficulties. And so, for example, in March, I had like 90 people in my class, and now I have 70 because 20 people dropped out or they couldn't afford to pay tuition, and they lost their jobs. All my friends, they can't find the internship, which is necessary to graduate from the university. My university is not really helping in finding any internships. Also, I've got a lot of messages from my friends that they can't really handle the situation right now because of mental stress and everything what is happening with COVID. So I want to say that I think from my perspective, universities and the whole educational system is totally not prepared for the adjustments imposed by COVID-19. And also there is a big gap between what they're teaching us and what is really needed. So that's my experience. Thank you.
Any comment on that, perhaps?
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing, and hello to Poland from Sarajevo. I mean, unfortunately, there are many experiences such as yours everywhere. We can find them because the pandemic is something that no one was ready to catch up with. And somehow, as the numbers of the infected people were rising, also in the same time, governments were trying to find the solution on how to have a stable situation in each of the economies. And when it comes to IT and unpaid internships, also as I mentioned, and I hope that it will be put in practice, this resolution of European Parliament that actually banned unpaid internships, traineeships, and apprenticeships at the EU level, and itself has banned it back in 2018. And I mean, all of us have most of us actually had an experience of working or doing an internship for free, and that is something that now the EU itself is working on to improve. But I would also say that as situation is so difficult, if young people would use this opportunity and pandemic to invest in their knowledge and skills, to try to find ways how to improve more, because education system, as you said, is also not providing some, let's say, maybe practical skills. I believe that later on those young people would be more relevant at the labor market and will find a job easier when they finish with their studies. So this is also the time for all of us to reflect what is our knowledge, what are our skills, and to try to improve all of them, especially having in mind that now we are facing that in some economies there are again some kind of lockdowns and similar. So instead of let's say spending time on something that is maybe not so useful, maybe it would be good for all of us to actually use this time to really follow some of the online courses and seminars, and to really, I mean, this is also an opportunity for all of us to see what is happening in the Southeast Europe, and maybe to hear about some initiatives and some opportunities that could be followed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe I can just add a comment from a little bit different perspective. One thing is, of course, how in the better way to use time in accordance to add skills and value. But second thing is that this pandemic is a challenge for everybody. The fact that university is not prepared to react in this situation is not a surprise. Health systems are not prepared to react adequately. Governments are not prepared to react. And this really is a pressure to everybody's life. And I think that also this pandemic is a big lesson for solidarity, for really supporting who needs to be supported, to be volunteers, to do something for the society in addition to what we expect society or government to do for us. And maybe also one can look at it from that perspective, how I can help in this crisis situation, because it is like a war situation, if you want, what is going on in the world. Of course, the crisis is so deep. So I believe that it is a place for every single person to also be part of the solution. I'll give you an example. What the young people like you in Bulgaria organized a hackathon for COVID, and this was one weekend. This created 120 solutions, non-paid, for different dimension of the life, how can be supported from simple things. That was a process how you can really help people in need, or the hospitals and so on, to more complicated web-based systems for monitoring, observing, and so on. So this is also part of it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Daria, for your questions. Thank you for the elaborate comments. Now, to my great pleasure, I will give the floor to the Women Power in the Tirana Hub, please.
Hello, from Tirana Hub. Thank you to the distinguished panel for their insight and all the shared information. I am Francesca Muto, and I have two comments and one question. Firstly, as Young Professional Network has been part of the consulting group developing a framework of the Balkan Youth Day, and we are very enthusiastic to see what further activities will come and to be part of it. The question is, meanwhile, Sofia Summit, and the question is for the Mr. Markovic. Meanwhile, Sofia Summit of the Berlin process will take place soon. From your point of view and all the experience that you have regarding youth employment, etc., which are the themes that should be advocated more during this forum? And the last question, I would like to share a short story of my integration to the labor market. All my achievements in the labor market are not a result of my education, but are a result of my active participation in conference, trainings, and activities of non-formal education. So I would like to say all the participants of this conference, keep trying, and keep being active in society and in activities, because at the end you will see the fruitful of your active participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francesca, and thank you everyone in Tirana for following us today. It's good to see that you are together, and that somehow these events maybe for you are more interesting and good that all of you are taking care of yourselves by wearing masks. So thank you for showing yourselves also as an example how we should all deal with this situation. And thank you very much for your question. And as I said in the introductory part, we back in Sofia Summit in 2018, Western Balkan leaders and EU leaders called for establishment of the Youth Lab. And actually that summit was very, very youth oriented. As you said, we are approaching the new Sofia Summit that will take place on November 10. So it will be on Tuesday, where the Western Balkan leaders and EU leaders will actually plan for creating a common regional market, which should be adopted. The aim of this Sofia Summit is actually to establish a regional economic community in the Western Balkans. And by that, of course, even though it is not youth aimed this time, and even though the youth is not the let's say focus of this year's Sofia Summit, some of the things, as you asked, that I would like to hear from them is actually to see how this new economic recovery plan will include young people, because I believe that all of us can conclude from today's session, and of course looking forward to more questions, but we can see that really when it comes to economic recovery, we should of course first think also about raising the employment rate of young people, which is more than 20% in the whole Western Balkan region. Now I cannot say because I'm not sure, but I believe it's around 21.27% of the whole population. So it's almost fourth of the whole population, and I hope that they will address that issue by also calling for including young people more in the policy making, to advocating more for the rights of young people when it comes to different spheres, and definitely to see how the youth will be actually incorporated in this plan that is aimed to be adopted. And thank you, Francesca, once again for you and for your team for the question.
Thank you very much. Now I have a question from Michael Divyakovsky, who is not able to talk publicly. What do you think about employers that require previous experience when they post the job opportunities? And we are early graduated students, have no experience actually. How should we lower this gap? And what do you think should be the priority? Because working and studying at the same time is almost impossible, especially here in our country.
Sasha, do you want to take floor, or I should start first?
Okay, so first of all, the question is too generally set, and of course, we should make a difference between employers who request previous experience, and that's a reason to refuse hiring a young person, and to employers where it is worthwhile to really be in a shadow role for a couple of months in accordance to gain better experience. So I'm a little bit, let's say, biased most probably, because when you're a young person in such a time when many new skills needs to be, let's say, adopted, sometimes it's worthwhile for a couple of months you to say, okay, I will go in this company to be part of it, to support it, and to gain skills, and tomorrow to be on the job market in a different way. I understand that the spirit of this dialogue is a little bit different, but honestly, I'm coming from the real business environment, and I'm telling you that at the moment, there are many skillful people. There are many, many young people that are not hiding behind paid, unpaid internship, but are seeking and eager for the skills, and they already in the age of 17, 18 are quite equipped, and market is looking for them. So that's why, again, and that's my appeal to you, because you are active young people that are the heart of the communities, work for this spirit. Not that young people are complaining that they are unemployed or they are part of the negative statistics, but what they can do and what you can do informally with them in the early stage in accordance they to be the preferred candidates on the market. That's what the agenda should be. And it is understandable, jump in the shoes of the employers. It is a crisis situation. The markets are shrinking. The incomes are going down. They are cutting costs. Even the very successful companies at the moment are looking on how to optimize costs. So, of course, they are looking for skillful people. And we either should subsidize unemployment through programs, which we don't want, or we should use this time in accordance to really equip young people with the skills they to start their own businesses, because there is so much to be done in this world today that the old guys don't understand. So you should create totally different dynamic, honestly. And I remember in the crisis in 2013 in Spain, they've been 72% youth unemployment. 72%. This is 3/4 of the young people that were in your age, they've been on the street. But this was such a boost for the new economy, for the startup economy, with the very little support from the government, almost non-support. And because of this self-organization of the young people, they've started brilliant things. So think also from that perspective, please.
Yeah. Am I allowed just to intervene here? Thank you for your comment and thank you for the question to Michael. But I believe that we cannot neglect that there are certain abuses by the employers as well. Of course, there are a lot of opportunities in the business sector and the potential of the youth, but still, we cannot neglect that the abuse is a reality, especially in this region. And I will follow up with one more question by Michael. He says that because there is usually misuse in the situation when the early graduates are not in good financial situation, so they accept any kind of job offers. Do you think that universities and even high schools should integrate labor law and the rights of the employees in their syllabuses, so the youth can be more informed regarding their rights on the employment?
Thank you, Maya, and thank you for the intervention as well. I couldn't agree more with what Sasha said, and actually, I could sign what she shared now, because really, it's not easy in these difficult times, also for the employers, and having and being lucky to work with young people. I can really see that it is incredible how talented and knowledge equipped young people there are in the region. And of course, it gets more and more difficult to find a job. Here, I cannot say anything, let's say, professionally, because I'm not an unemployment expert. But for example, from my own experience, what I could share, and I hope that maybe it will motivate some of you, is that even participation at this event now, where we are, International Youth Conference, tomorrow at some time will be valuable, and someone will see that you, when you are, let's say, 22 or 25, whatever, you are interested in being involved. And it will be valued by an employer where you should work. And well, as you said, Mikhail, that it is quite difficult to study and work in the same time. I really agree. It is very difficult. But on the other side, it's something, I mean, it's also on us. And for example, when I was studying, I started doing those internships that you are all mentioning that are for free and are not paid. I started when I was 18. But for example, when I was 21, I already had a permanent contract. So maybe somehow investing in my practical skills for 2 or 3 years for free. But I try to find the place where I can actually learn a lot, so that later on I can do the job properly. And back in that time, I was trying to be involved in different activities, conferences, and similar, hoping that someone will recognize it. And of course, on the end, if you invest in your knowledge and in your skills, it will be recognized. For sure, at one point, maybe not as soon as you would like to, but it will be. And that is my key message today, that all of you, even though it is difficult and even though it's not easy to find, and as Maya said, of course, there are many abuses, but we as a young people should also think about those situations when someone is abusing us, when we are working for free, to also find a way how we can abuse them in order to gain as much as possible knowledge, so that tomorrow we can offer that knowledge somewhere and get paid properly and advance in career and pursue career that we all want. So, for example, as I'm a political scientist, I was studying history most of the time, even though I didn't expect that. But for example, later on, when I entered the labor market already on the first year of studies, I saw that the reality is totally different, that people will require your knowledge, of course, about that part, but you have to be in present. You have to know what is happening now. You have to follow policies. You have to be aware of the EU integration process and similar. So I tried to actually highlight and to work more on that part. And that doesn't matter which study you are pursuing. I believe it's same just for you to find adequate place. Regarding the second question about informing young people about labor market and employment rights of young people, I would definitely agree, because we all actually have to be aware of all of our rights. Firstly, starting with basic human rights that are prescribed by European Convention of Human Rights of Council of Europe, and then starting with, of course, national legislation, labor laws and similar. I am not sure should it be official syllabus within the universities or high schools, but I believe that faculties, of course, should find a way to have maybe non-formal education activities aside for the ones who are interested, because of course we are also aware that not all young people are willing to know and to be aware of all of these things. But for those who are actually, to have an opportunity to actually go somewhere and to learn more about possible rights, but also obligations when it comes to appointment. I hope that I responded on this part. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you very much for the comprehensive insight to both of the experts regarding this question. Now I will give the screen to Dimitar, which I believe is the last question of the session. Dimitar, please.
Thank you. Hello to all. I am from Macedonia. I'm a law student. And hearing the conversation, I really liked it. And one question came up to my mind and it stuck with me. There are fields in the job market that cannot be digitalized. And in these fields, the workers' rights are most harmed. And in this field, we also have young people. And sometimes I think we neglect the fact that there are young people in these fields. Not everyone wants to work in an office. Some young people like to work labor-intensive jobs. In this part as well, as well as the state, the corporations also have responsibilities towards the workers. But in my modest opinion, they both shift responsibilities. So my general and abstract question would be, would you say that in the absence of government intervention and action regarding this problem, the corporations have a bigger and heavier responsibilities towards the workers?
Mr. Markovic, yeah?
Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Dmitar, for your question. Yes, I mean, firstly, I fully agree that some of the jobs cannot be digitalized, but also I'm quite surprised how many of them actually can. And how, for example, a lot of things regarding, since you are a law student, for example, regarding lawmaking, work of prosecutors, judges, has actually been digitalized in the region, and how different conventions, declarations, trainings for judges and prosecutors actually have been done online, and how a lot of part of their work has been done online. So it seems that somehow this pandemic has showed us that it is possible if there is a will, like for everything in life, I would say. And when it comes to your question, well, I would say yes. I believe that Sasha would have a more concrete answer due to her long experience. But I believe that there is a huge responsibility on companies as well to see how to find ways to solve this issue and how to be more responsible towards the workers. But even here we can see that some of the companies managed to let's say do the workflow even from homes or similar without any issue. But on the other side, we have the ones also that could not actually find a way how to work, and that even unfortunately collapsed or lowered, as Sasha was mentioning before, their income due to this situation. So still somehow for me, I mean, in my opinion, somehow it all gets about approach of the person, either it is a director of the company or employer, because on how to find the way. Because if I don't know something to do, I have to find someone who will know how to help me in this situation. So let's try to keep up with the work and to have everything done as planned or something. I mean, it's a quite broad question, so I hope that at least in some point I provided an answer, but I'm sure that Sasha will have more concrete.
Yes,
Thank you, Dmitar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Markovic. And I would like to ask Ms. Bezukhanova to share her expertise on the question. And if you can please make one statement as a take away from the whole session. What do you think that should be, let's say, taken away from all this discussion and remembered by all the participants tomorrow and in the future?
Okay. Okay, first on the question of Dimitar, actually, we should maybe zoom in a little bit the whole situation, because again, pandemic was forcing under pressure people to, or enterprises to go digital, and this was causing certain consequences for some of the jobs. First of all, my impression is that the vital companies managed to reorganize their working process in a very effective way for a short period of time, that partially was digitized, or certain special measures for really securing the health environment for the employees was introduced. Maybe I don't have a very specific experience in some of your countries. Maybe this was not happening everywhere. But on a different level, obviously, it is obvious that with or without pandemic, some of the old-fashioned productions and job places will disappear. And that's the logic of the evolution. We are approaching the age of automation, and not only because of the pandemic, but because of the fact that more and more, or many of the jobs that are done by people at the moment will be taken over by the machines in the future. This means that people with no qualification will be left non-competitive outside of the job market. And this maybe got visible now through the pandemic because of the necessity to use those modern means. And honestly, we should be sensitive to the fact that this will be a trend that grows in the future. We just underlies the need for investing in the right qualifications for young people, but also throughout the whole life requalification, and making people able to continue ahead. And it's not, in my view, a topic of human rights only. It is a topic of individual competitiveness and ability to participate actively in the tomorrow's world. Hopefully, Dimitar, this gave you direct and indirect answer of your questions. Not all companies has been able to really adapt fast to this job market. And now my concluding message, as Maya requested, if I, let's say, would make a wish what to remember from this session, and specifically what I wanted to say, this is first of all, to believe in yourself and in your abilities to open the opportunities for the future. And because you are leaders, you are people that are trendsetters in the community of young people. Open those doors to your peers, and look at the world of the future that nobody knows and nobody can describe today as a place that rather opens new opportunities for employment and for creation, and that young people have a big role to play, rather than trying to defend the past by really complaining that some opportunities are closed for young people. They are closed for everybody, but you have much bigger chance to adapt and approach the future than some of the people that are 50s. Just take this lead, young leaders. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this, let's say, supporting and very enthusiastic message that is taken away by this session. Mr. Markovic, it's your turn now.
Thank you, Maya. So first of all, I want to thank to Dmitar, Mikhail, Daria, and everyone who raised questions. And I hope that next year we will be able to meet in person so that we all can, Francesca as well, and that we will have a chance to meet in person and to discuss all these topics. So also over the coffee break or lunch break that is approaching. I also want to thank you, Maya, for a great moderation, as well as the whole Youth Alliance Kruševo for the amazing organization, and special thanks to Biljana. And it was a pleasure to be in panel with Sasha. Thank you very much for your inspirational speech and comments. I really enjoyed it, even though I'm still quite skeptical about these online events, and somehow I cannot get used to be honest, because I'm used to this direct communication. But I have to say that I really felt good. The atmosphere was good, energy. So thank you everyone for this, and thanks Youth Alliance for making this kind of atmosphere. And for the end, I mean, after all these discussions, I would say that you all have to be aware that we as young people are the driving force for change in the region, and that we are the main resource for all governments and the international community, and that we are solutions for the main challenges, and that we have to be part of finding the ways how to solve some of the challenges. Therefore, I would wholeheartedly invite you all to be active in your local communities, to try to get as much possible experience, to try to meet as many people from your own economies, but also from the region, so that you can really see the differences, but also commodalities of all young people in the region. And as we had also participant from Poland, for example, I was on study exchange in Poland as well, and I could see also, for example, what are the differences and also similarities between, let's say, Montenegro and Poland. And all of those experiences will make you feel better, and will make you feel that you really can contribute to this society, because I also say it's our obligation. If we as young people do not want to improve the situation where we live in, where tomorrow we will have our own families, where we will raise our children and similar, who will do it for us? So this is actually a point where all of us should be aware that it's not also about is it paid or it's not paid, is it good for me personally or not. It's also important to have this broader perspective, that it's also our obligation to make the region better, and that we have societies where we would like to stay, and not, for example, to have staggering data about brain drain from the, let's say, Western Balkans, to have young people who want to go abroad and not stay here. I would really like to see a change in some of the coming years, and to, instead of having all my friends unfortunately leaving and seeing them a couple of times per year, to have them really come back and to utilize their knowledge and experiences when they come back to the home economies, so that we really can live in a societies where we are satisfied and where we can actually fulfill all our potentials. Thank you once again, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for the great expertise and the insight that you brought to this session. Thank you for the concluding statements. I believe that they are something that all the participants are going to take away with them. And now I would like to wrap up this session with several concluding remarks myself. So the COVID-19 showed us that the GDP does not measure what we value the most. This unplanned social experiment, which was precipitated by the virus, actually presents a one-time only window opportunity for us as a humanity to rethink or restructure perhaps the economy and the society as a whole. Maybe this restructuring and rethinking could lead to surviving these pandemics, fighting another pandemic, fighting the climate change, and also standing up to all the challenges that we face. And youth unemployment is one of the challenges that we continually actually face. In that regard, we believe that targeted and urgent employment packages, as well as unemployment insurances, health insurances, some benefits for the young people, boosting the quality of the online training and education, as well boosting the need of the digital skills sets, is something that needs to be taken in consideration. But first of all, I believe that the societies have to have in mind that the young people have to be integral part of the solution and the recovery of this crisis. Together and for the young people, the societies and the governments need to work together in order to make, not to allow this COVID-19 crisis to be very negative and long-lasting and severe impact on the young people. In this regard, in spite of everything, young people are determined to step up and to collaborate with the governments, with all the stakeholders, with the business sectors as well, in order to build back better for the future, in the digital era. For all the young people out there who feel discriminated against or disadvantaged, I would only like to stress that the human rights that you have, as well as the youth rights, including the labor rights, including the right to education, give you a great foundation for you to act together, to combine your forces and make a change and make improvements for your own environment and make your voices heard, of course. That way only we can show and emphasize once again that the youth are the backbone of the society and the future belongs to the youth. Thank you very much. Stay healthy and stay safe. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.